Hockey as your destination for the latest news, audio, and analysis regarding the Winnipeg Jets, Manitoba Moose, and all things hockey in Manitoba. Join Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and Drew Mandel as a special edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live online, and of course, all those live here in the second floor food court at Cityplace, we welcome you to a special edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, better known as the Illegal Curve Pregame Show. Along with Dave Manouk and Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to talk about Game 5 between the Winnipeg Jets and the Colorado Avalanche. The proverbial do or die for the Winnipeg Jets tonight. They are climbing a big mountain, down 3-1, gentlemen. But it all starts with tonight's Game 5. One game at a time, one period at a time, one shift at a time has to be the mindset for the Winnipeg Jets as they look to overcome the hurdle that they have created for themselves. There's my cousin. Hello, Shem. How are you? Sorry, just wandering by there. I had to interrupt there. Gentlemen, good to see you on this Tuesday night. We've done 85 post-game shows this year. No, 86 post-game shows this year. There will be an 87th after the game tonight. The question will be, will there be an 88th post-game show after Thursday's Game 6, or will tonight be the end of the 23-24 season for the Winnipeg Jets?
Drew, no, hold on. No pleasantries. We're getting right into the predictions here.
No, I think we're not getting into the predictions. We're getting into the discussion. You don't immediately have to, you don't have to spoil it just yet. You got to lead people on. You got to get people, interested in your insights and your analysis and everything else. We know it's going to be a different look to the Winnipeg Jets tonight. Roster changes, lineup changes. So the Winnipeg Jets, they're throwing everything at the wall in their hopes to extend the series for another game.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into it, can we talk about the standing ovation that Drew got right off the top? Like that was some good applause that Drew was getting. There's a section here that's been enjoying the music that Tim's been playing. But yeah, this is do or die, and obviously Game 4 was do or die as well, guys. But I absolutely think that the Jets can win Game 5 here and continue the series. And forget about history and what happened last year and what happened the year before. The Winnipeg Jets can only concentrate on Game 5 tonight, Dave. You're not thinking about Game 6 or Game 7 at this point. And yeah, Drew mentions the lineup changes, and we'll talk about those because I think you could argue that the lineup changes that Rick Bowness made prior to this game are the lineup changes that should have been made prior to Game 4 in Denver, right? Bringing in Colin Miller, bringing in Cole Perfetti. It's nice that Axel Jonsson-Fjällby played in Game 4, kind of being rewarded for his play with the Manitoba Moose, but I thought David Gustafsson was really good in the games that he's played in this series, right? So Gustafsson's going to come back in the lineup. I mean, guys, nobody actually thought Vlad Nemesnikov was going to play tonight. I mean, he's got a serious injury. He also didn't skate today. So, I mean, the lineup changes I think are going to have a positive impact, but the Jets have to put together their first 3-period game. We haven't seen that yet. Even in Game 1, the only game that the Jets won in the series, we know that they didn't have a very good first 10 minutes or a very good last 10 minutes. So, I mean, this is the season right here, and the Jets' best players. It's obvious, Dave, to say that Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, Nick Ehlers, Gabe Vilardi, some of the Jets' best forwards. It's time for them to put the puck in the net. And it's time for the Jets to take this series back to Denver for Game 6.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question, Ezra. And I think that, it's something we mentioned on the last show, and it's something that you and I talked about on the way down here, was the fact that so many guys have not produced, right? You have guys without goals. Nikolai Ehlers doesn't have a goal. Gabriel Vilardi doesn't have a goal. Nino Niederreiter doesn't have a goal. And you're looking at the numbers for the Avs. They're getting production up and down. Obviously, they're scoring 30 goals a game. It's easy to get production when you're having that sort of offensive outburst. But the Jets aren't. The Jets aren't getting enough scoring from their depth. They're not getting enough scoring from their top 6. Now, look, we've been talking about the need to reunite Cole Perfetti get Cole Perfetti in the lineup, 19-goal scorer. He's making his whiteout debut, and hey, Cole Perfetti was smiling today. You knew there was some excitement. We have that, of course, on our YouTube channel. And then they reunited Nikolai Ehlers, Gabriel Vilardi, and Mark Scheifele. And all of those guys, look, Mark Scheifele has to be the most important player outside of Connor Hellebuck, outside of Josh Morrissey. but you need him to be a driver. You need Nikolai Ehlers to produce. You need Gabriel Velarde to produce. And that second line. I like the construction of that second line because, quite frankly, and look, Rick Bowness said it today in the media availability, boys. He talked about the fact that Tyler Toffoli hasn't really done much.
Yeah, that's putting it politely.
That's putting it politely. So, exactly. So Tyler Toffoli is off of that second line, which I think is the right move because he hasn't really done anything. I know he has a goal, but really, let's be realistic, guys. It wasn't a good goal on Georgiev. It was more of a fluke than anything else.
Yeah, from behind the goal line.
Yeah. So I mean, to me, this is the move that they needed to make. This is the move that they needed to have. You needed to have Cole Perfetti, who's dynamic, to be able to try and have that sort of impact that I think he can have with Sean Monahan and with Cal Connor. And again, right, as those guys need to produce. If you're gonna win this game, we need to see less penalties. And for whatever reason, people think I'm being a homer when I'm talking about the fact that the Jets, who have a bad penalty kill, shouldn't be taking penalties. And the fact is that you've got that factor. And then you've got, like I said, you got to get the production up from all of these guys.
Look, I think you're absolutely right from the Jets' perspective. They need to show an element of desperation that they haven't shown yet, and that they didn't show in Game 5 last year against the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, I do think that sort of is the sword of Damocles that is hanging over all this, that if the Jets go out as meekly as they did last year, what has really been accomplished this year? Now, it was a great regular season, and it was a fun regular season, but as Rick Bowness said in his media availability earlier today, he said there isn't one member in that locker room, there isn't one member of this team who's prepared for their season to end tonight. Now, of course he's going to say that. That in and of itself is not a surprising comment, because if he said, oh yeah, they've all quit, we're all going to go home, there'd be a lot more things to be concerned about. But you need to see that translate on the ice. You need to see that in their game tonight. You need to see that in how they play, and more importantly, in how they counteract the Colorado Avalanche. I'm a firm believer that, you know, the more desperate team often can win a game. I mean, especially when, you know, the talent levels aren't vastly different. Not, you know, the Jets against the San Jose Sharks or any team against the Sharks this year. Desperation matters in a game like tonight. Colorado knows they're going home after tonight's game regardless. The question is, do the Jets want to also travel back to Denver? And that's what you need to see from their performance tonight on the ice, Ezzy.
Absolutely, and I don't think you saw that enough in Denver in games 3 and 4, right? Like we talked about it on Saturday's show, right after we did the post-game show at Boston Pizza Taylor, that the Jets had the really good second period. They took the 2-1 lead, and then obviously everything fell apart with the penalties and everything like that, right? So I think you need to see a very desperate effort, and you obviously have the home crowd back on your side. You didn't have that for games 3 and 4 in Denver. We know that the home crowd is going to be raucous tonight, right? So I think, you know, everything is there for the Jets. This is a winnable game, but you're going to have to get, I mean, look, Nick Ehlers doesn't have any goals in this series. Sean Monahan doesn't have any goals in this series. Nino Niederreiter doesn't have any goals in this series. Like, a lot of players have to step up. This has to be a much better team game. I think going into the series, all the talk was the Avalanche forward depth being not as good as the Jets forward depth. Well, what's happened in this series is the Avalanche third line has been better than the Jets second line, right, Dave? So I think that's partly why Cole Perfetti is in the lineup right now, and Tyler Toffoli has been moved down to the fourth line. We'll see if that lasts, but Dave is right. I mean, you have a guy that has 19 goals, so hopefully this is going to give the Jets a boost of energy. Sure, you're going to miss Brendan Dillon on the back end. You're going to miss Vlad Nemestikov on the fourth line. But this is the Jets' season here, and the Jets were almost the best team in the Western Conference. They finished second for a reason. You have home ice advantage, right? Obviously, that was taken away by the Avalanche. But you're absolutely right. This is going to prove how mentally strong the Jets are, not just for this series, but going forward with this core.
I do think there is something to be said for that. You're right, Ezzy. Now, I don't know that this core, as currently constructed, is good enough to win you a Stanley Cup. I don't know if they have that game breaker that I believe is necessary to win you a cup. But you have to prove that you're more than you were last year, Dave. You have to find a way to show that when you're up against it, you're not going to wilt in the face. And that's what we've heard, that this team is not built like last year's team. This team is built stronger, more mentally tough, more willing to do those little things that last year's team wasn't able to do. this team has been, there's no other way to sugarcoat it, they've been atrocious defensively in this series. Now, is it going to cost them the series? Well, I mean, odds are that it is. You're down 3-1 against a very good team. It would be a Herculean task to come all the way back. That said, you have to start demonstrating that you can do so tonight. And then you have to start doing it for one period, and then the second period, and the third period, and you have to find a way to do to Colorado whatever your game plan has been. You have to start executing it, because clearly Colorado has been able to do what they want, through the first 4 games of the series.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Drew. And I think it's all about, the execution. You need to impose your will on this game a little bit. I mean, as he said it, and he's not wrong, Carter. It's the fact is that you had 52 wins. That wasn't by accident. Right. So if you had 52 wins in the regular season, you need to show folks that that's what team you are still. And so, look, Colorado, again, we've said this, throughout the course of this series as he threw, 4 games already, is the fact that Colorado's a very good hockey team. They really are. They're coached well. They've got some, Drew talks about game breakers. I don't need to list off the game breakers they have on that team. There's no question to me that this is a very good Colorado team. But again, this is a good Jets team, but we're not seeing it enough. We're not seeing the Ehlers and the Velardis and the Scheifeleys and the Connors. Yeah. They're all capable of, I'm not saying taking over games single-handedly, but that's the strength of this team. That's the strength of the team that we've talked about all year. Collectively, this group is supposed to be strong. The depth, from 1 to 12 is supposed to be, this kind of what stirs this team. So you're not going to just have a guy who's able to be the equal to Nathan McKinnon. That's fine. Maybe look what did Seattle do? How did Seattle beat Colorado last year? They had a lot of good second lines. Yeah. So that's what the Jets need to do. The Jets need to have that sort of mentality, that sort of, again, like I said, bringing your own game plan. And I like this. I like the changes, the lines, and I don't know if you want to go through them because maybe not everybody in the chat, let's hope that they've been checking Elio Curvezi because, of course, we had the morning skate availability. We had all the media, if you wanted to see from Colin Miller or Cole Perfetti or Coach Rick Bowness, available on our YouTube. And we also had in our pregame report all the lines, which Drew is getting ready to read to you now.
Okay, so thank you. Thank you for that tee up there. That was very impressive. You're coming from my job there, Mr. Dave, is what I can see about that. The revamped forward lines for the Winnipeg Jets in tonight's game. Ehlers, Scheifele, Velarde, a line that a lot of people have been clamoring for to see on a regular basis all season long. Well, they're back together, at least to start Game 5 tonight. We haven't seen them really for any significant period of time yet in this series, a period here, a period there, but nothing really that the coach has been relying on. Second line, Kyle Connor, Sean Monahan, Cole Perfetti, Ezzy. So that's sort of a rejigged second line. As you mentioned, Tyler Toffoli, he gets bumped down to the fourth line where he's going to be playing with Alex Iafallo and David Gustafsson and Tyler Toffoli. And then that third line, which has really been together all season long by and large, of Nino Niederreiter, Adam Lowry, and Mason Appleton. I think you were right when you said this earlier at the start of the show, at the start of the Illegal Curve pregame show live here on the second floor of Cityplace in the food court, is that maybe this is a game too late at this point in time. Maybe this should have been the rejig of the lines for Game 4, and I would agree with that. But now these lines need to show what they can do to start Game 5 tonight.
Right, and it's not the best position for Cole Perfetti coming in Game 5 with the season on the line, right? But he wants to be in the lineup. Dave M was there. Shout out to Greg Liverpool, who just showed up rocking the beautiful Bombers jean jacket and Bombers cowboy hat. So shout out to GF. We go way back to 2011 on TSN 1290 radio with Greg Liverpool. But yeah, when you're talking about Cole Perfetti, even though you might have wanted to see him earlier in the series, look, they need offense. The Jets need a boost here. They didn't get it from Axel Jonsson-Fjällby, and let's be honest here, guys.
That decision never made any sense from the get-go. I mean, that decision from Rick Bowness for Game 4 was just bewildering in my estimation. I don't understand that. I didn't understand it then. I don't understand it now.
Well, fair enough, and I think that's why he's not in the lineup tonight, right? Like, you've got David Gustafsson coming back in the lineup, but the top six just hasn't been good enough offensively, guys. We've seen it in spurts. Game 3, obviously, Tyler Toffoli got the big goal, but, he has looked slow as Spency walks in here looking more handsome than ever. What's going on, Spency? Let's get Spency in here. I think Spency needs to come in here.
Come around the oh my gosh, he's throwing lays at us.
Yeah.
There you go. This is
Get in here, Spencer. Everybody needs to see this.
Boys are getting laid.
Thank you, Spency. That is an outfit.
There's
and
no
then
doubt,
some.
guys, that absolutely the Jets need more from the big boys on this team, the guys that get paid the big bucks. Look, they also need to contain Cale Makar. Cale Makar leads the Avalanche in points right now. He's one of the best defensemen, if not the best defenseman in the league. They need to slow down, and I think, you need a better transition offense as well. We've seen way too much zone time, and the Jets need to play in the other end. Like, that's what you need to see, more of that. It's easier said than done, but the Jets need to counter the Avalanche speed. Obviously, the Jets can't get faster here. It's not like there's anything that the Jets can take to make them faster.
This isn't Mario Brothers where they can go like Mario Kart to go over a bucket of booster or whatever.
You heard a lot of players say that after Game 4, that there needs to be a change in strategy. You heard that from Mark Scheifele, and then obviously that stirred up a little.
So let me interrupt you right there, because that was what I want to talk about. And Marat Atesh, who's going to join us in about 10 or so minutes time, we'll also talk to him about that. You had Mark Scheifele after Game 4 come out and say that Colorado has made better adjustments and the Jets themselves haven't done enough adjustments. And then you have Rick Bowness saying adjustments aren't the problem, it's that you're not executing the game plan. I mean, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's more or less it. What do you think of those two sort of comments? Because it sounds like there's not a lot of maybe kumbaya between Mark Scheifele, some of the players, and Rick Bowness when they seem to be at differing opinions as to what ails them so far.
Who really cares, though, right? Like, the Jets have to win the game. Like, I know what you're saying, Drew, but, like, this whole thing, like, at least I don't care. I mean, I care about the game on the ice.
Right.
Like, is anybody going to be talking about this 2 days from now? Maybe if the Jets lose in 5. But, this whole idea that there's a disconnect, sure, there might be. Well, but again, we're talking about the game, right? Like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, whatever the disconnect is between the two will have zero impact on the game, unless Mark Scheifele has tuned Rick Bowness out, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, to me, it's kind of just outside noise. Does that make sense?
It makes sense what you're saying, but Dave, the same question for you, because to me, and I understand Ezzy's perspective, and I have time for it. To me, given all that has occurred, and I still maintain that the post-game comments or the comments from last year aren't necessarily done with and completely gone forever. But when you have Scheifele saying that we need to make adjustments, and the coach saying no, we don't, you just need to execute better. To me, that doesn't really ring. It doesn't leave a great taste in my mouth that everyone's pulling the rope the same direction right now.
Okay, but I think the problem is I think you're misconstruing it a little bit, because I don't think that he didn't say that they need to make adjustments. I think Rick Bowness was not arguing with that concept. I think he's also saying, but before we can get to that point of making those adjustments, we have to focus on actually executing our game plan. That to me is what was, the kind of the crux of what I thought I took away from what he was saying was, let's execute the game plan. And if the game plan isn't, in fact, I think that's exactly what he was saying. If the game plan isn't working, then we can worry about making those adjustments. But in order for us to be able to start focusing on that, you have to show that you're going to follow the structure that I've put into place for the last, 82 games of the regular season.
Sure. It's
a
bit of a chicken and the egg argument there, because.
But at the end of the day, he's the one who makes the decisions, right? He's the one who gets to say, "This is my game." Like, look, they live and die by his decision making, right? So we're questioning his decision making in terms of not having Cole Perfetti in. The other player we haven't mentioned is Colin Miller. Colin Miller's, of course, coming in to replace Logan Stanley. He's going to be paired up with his former D-man partner, current teammate, of course, Nate Schmidt. So they'll be the former Vegas, what are they called, Misfits, who the Jets should remember from 17-18. He'll be back in the lineup, or I should say in the lineup for the first time for the playoffs. So he's going to come in with, what does he have, like 40, 50 games of playoff experience. So he'll be able to bring that, plus that big shot on the right side. So I think that the point, Drew, and again, like I said, I understand what you're saying, but I just think that, I don't think it's a disconnect. I think it's just that the coach wants the players to play the style of game that he's put into them for the last, season and a half and then once that kind of takes effect, then if, like I said, and it's too little too late, as he's right in that regard. I mean, the fact is, you have to win this hockey game. You can't really worry about the strategies and the structure and all of that other stuff. So for me, that's the focus right now in terms of like what you need to do to try and win this hockey game. And if you can do it, and then you're going to be able to sleep at night. If you don't, then there's going to be, we heard about it on the broadcast on TSN today. There's going to have to be some changes, right?
Yeah, the changes certainly will have to come if the Jets go out meekly tonight, I would say, Ezzy. And that's where the mindset has to be. The mindset has to be, we need to execute. We need to simply be better. It's not even about, oh, woe is us, we've played so well, but we haven't got the results we wanted. They've played so poorly that that it's completely understandable why the results have been what they've been. Full credit to the Avs for making the Jets play that poorly, but at the same time, the Jets haven't shown the resistance necessary to counteract what Colorado does.
I would agree with that, and a lot of the focus has been the penalties and all the Avalanche power play goals, but what hasn't been talked about, I think, enough is why the Jets are taking those penalties, right? It's because they have been scrambling around a little bit too much in their zone. They've been playing on their heels too much. And, it's because the Jets are not... Look, the Jets have not been able to execute their game plan. They have not played like they did when they beat the Avalanche 7-0 or they beat the Stars 3-0. Right. They are letting the Avalanche dictate the pace of play. And look... Cale Makar, we talked about it, one of the best defensemen in the world. Nathan MacKinnon, he's going to be a Hart Trophy finalist, we think. It was a good class because Connor McDavid, obviously, Nikita Kucherov, I mean, there's other players, right? Cale Makar, some people think, should be a Hart Trophy finalist, right? But part of the problem is that the Jets have been playing too much time in their zone, and they haven't been able to generate the type of offense that they were able to generate against a lot of teams throughout the year. You haven't seen the waves of offense. You've seen it from the Avalanche, and you've seen at times the Jets have been able to have some of their scoring lines having success, but you haven't seen it enough. You haven't seen it for 3 periods. You've seen it for 1 period, or you've seen it for a period and a half. So there's absolutely no doubt that the players are responsible. At this point, yes, I would agree that Jared Bednar has outcoached Rick Bowness to this point in the series, and yeah. I don't think that the Jets have had an answer for the Avalanche speed. They have not had an answer for the way the Avalanche transition up the ice. The Jets have to put a more of a 5-man unit mentality into their game plan tonight. You've got to see more of the Jets making those types of sustained cycle plays in the offensive zone. You need to see, like the goal we saw by Nate Schmidt. It was a nice outlet pass by Logan Stanley. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Stanley's out of the lineup in part because of the penalties he took. He's out in part because of the way he played defensively. But you need to see more plays like that where if there's no play and you don't have a forward that's open or in the slot, then a defenseman jumps up into the play. And you saw that on the Nate Schmidt goal. You need to see more of that.
Done very well all series long.
You can't just see that once or twice. I believe the Jets only had 4 high-danger chances at even strength, if I'm not mistaken, last game.
14-4 were the high-danger chances in Game 4.
Guys, that's not typical Winnipeg Jets hockey. Usually the Jets are around 8 to 10 high-danger chances at even strength. So you need to see more sustained offense, and I think you want to see the Jets dictating pace of play. Obviously, that's Captain Obvious speaking. Anybody can say that, but there's been way too much of the Avalanche doing whatever they want in the Winnipeg Jets zone, and you've seen the Jets get caved in a little bit too much. They have to flip the script on the Avalanche.
Let me just read out this stat, and we're going to quickly go to break in a moment or two because I see Marat Atesh is here. He's going to join us for the second segment of the Illegal Curve pregame show. We're live here in the second floor of Cityplace. We're in the food court. Remember, if you can hear my voice and you can hear my announcement, go to any participating Cityplace restaurant, mention that you heard this promotion, and receive $2 off of your food order, particularly if you're wearing a Jets shirt, Jets jersey, Jets paraphernalia, or anything white.
What about Blue Bombers paraphernalia?
Well, that's
Greg's got the best Blue Bombers set up out there right now.
He's got a white T-shirt underneath. He's fine there. This is courtesy of Jay Fresh Hockey. Regular season expected goals against all situations for the Winnipeg Jets. So through the first 82 games of the regular season, the Jets' expected goals against was 2.8 per game. During the playoffs, Game 1, the expected goals against, 4.4, 3.8, 4.8, and an astonishingly poor 5.2 expected goals against in Game 4 between the Jets and the Colorado Avalanche. The Jets need to be much closer to that 2.8 number of the regular season if they want to send this series back to Colorado, back to Denver for Game 6, which would, of course, happen on Thursday night. So there's the task for the Winnipeg Jets. A lot easier said than done, but we will find out starting around 8:30 tonight if they're able to accomplish that. And of course, we're here now at Cityplace for the Illegal Curve pregame show. Then after the game, the Illegal Curve postgame show. We'll find out if it's the final one of the season or if there's another one still to come on Thursday night. Time will tell on that front. When we come back, as I mentioned, Marat Atesh of The Athletic is going to join us. We're live here, second floor, Cityplace Food Court. This is the Illegal Curve pre-game show.
Keeping Winnipeg laughing for over 30 years. Rumors, Canada's longest-running comedy club, bringing you the biggest laughs from the best comedians on the planet. Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the greats, and all the up-and-comers too. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends, or book your office or birthday party. Even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com. Hey, Drew.
Ezzy, whoa, what a smile!
Yeah, I got my crowns done at Linden Market Dental Center, and they whiten my teeth.
I see.
They're so bright that every time I smile, they go...
We have hockey tonight. Do you have a mouth guard to protect those pearly whites?
I sure do.
Whoa, they even ting through the mouth guard.
Linden Market Dental Center covers all your dental needs from restorative to cosmetic dentistry and will fit you with a sports guard for that active lifestyle. 877 Waverly, see lindenmarketdental.com.
It's all over, folks, and the run has come to an end.
You'll be so far away.
A Canadian team hasn't won the Cup in over 30 years. And the Cup will stay south of the border. Maybe it's time we try something different. This playoff season, let's cheer with the fans we've always cheered against. Team up for the Cup at Boston Pizza.
Hey Winnipeg, Wendell Clark here. I'm coming out there May 28th for the Rady JCC dinner. Myself, Dougie Gilmore, Grant Fuhr. Some good storytelling about Winnipeg beating us up when we used to come there. See you there.
We did it again!
You're on fire, man.
There's power in a handshake after a great game or great deal. It shows professionalism and respect. Two qualities Zappia Group Realty take pride in. You don't build a business where 95% of your clients are referred by others without honesty, integrity, and total dedication to client satisfaction. To sell your home for more in less time, shake hands with Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Get started at ZappiaGroup.com.
Top of the hour, welcome back to the Illegal Curve pregame show. Drew Mindell, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg. We're live here at Cityplace, second floor, 333 St. Mary Avenue, broadcasting live before the Jets and the Colorado Avalanche. Game 5 later on this evening in about 90 minutes time. The game will get underway. Scooch closer to Ezzy, Marat. I know that it's not necessarily how you want to spend your Tuesday night, but he's a big cuddly bear, and you need to feel some of that cuddles as we try and get you into the camera shot here as part of the pregame show. Marat Atesh of The Athletic covering the Winnipeg Jets. Nice of you to join us yet again here on the Illegal Curve pregame show. If I recall correctly, you joined us prior to Game 1, and the vibes obviously were positive there. So for the Jets fans' benefit, we brought you back again for Game 5 to see if you can give the same kind of good energy that you did prior to the only win the Jets have had so far this series.
I mean, that's a lot of pressure, but I can handle it. Maybe there is something about our presence, the four of us together, that brings the Jets their A game, or at least brings Alexander Georgiev his D game, whatever is required for the Winnipeg Jets comeback.
That works just the same. Yeah, either way, it'll work from the Jets fans' perspective. So, Marat, obviously, Game 5, do or die. Jets down 3-1. Why will tonight be different than last year's Game 5 in Vegas? Aside from the location, why is this Winnipeg Jets team built better than last year's team was that went out so meekly?
Well, the sad truth is I see a lot of parallels in the series. And it's not that Winnipeg struggled on its way into the playoffs. They didn't. They rattled off a whole bunch of wins. It's not that Winnipeg has an ex-captain they're about to buy out. That's not the case. Pierre-Luc Dubois, long gone, right? Remember, Winnipeg was counting on a player who didn't even want to be here at that time. But they are up against an absolute juggernaut of a team who very well could go on to win the Stanley Cup if they finish off the Winnipeg Jets in round one. They're playing at a level that Dallas and Vegas might have some trouble with, I would say. So, yeah, great question. Why would it be different? And all you can really do is lean on the fact that the floor for the Winnipeg Jets has been higher this season. The quality of play did reach a higher level. They did find a way to get out of a modest midseason slump instead of collapsing quite like they did down the second half last year. I think there's more to this group. I think there's more to its unity, its cohesion. I think there's more to its overall talent level. I still think they're outmatched.
But so what you're saying is there's a chance. Is basically.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah. It's that outmatching. I mean, that seems to be the real problem right now. Because right now you look at the games on the ice so far this series, and it really has been men versus boys, if you want to use that old euphemism. Is it that the Jets need to elevate, or the Jets need to get back to the structure, even if they went back to the structure that they played so well with this season? Can you see that structure even slowing down this version of the Colorado Avalanche?
I mean, the thing that I liked about Winnipeg's structure through so much of the year, the second year under Rick Bowness's zone system with the center release, they're actually pretty darned good at recovering to the middle of the ice and keeping two defensemen in front of the net, having a third forward there to help out. When Winnipeg has had any amount of success against Colorado or any team, they've actually been fairly well structured. It's the fact that Colorado's speed has busted them out of that so often. So you have Nathan MacKinnon gaining the zone at will because of his speed, and they haven't run picks on him. They haven't found any cheaper or dirty ways to slow him down. He's getting there with speed, pulls up, finds a second wave of offense, and everybody's on their heels. When everybody's on their heels when that first shot comes, then recovering that rebound is going to be a much tougher task, right? So Winnipeg's had a tough time getting to be first on the rebounds, first into the corners. In Game 4, there were two separate segments of the game before the game was even 6 minutes old where Colorado shot and recovered so many times it got 4 shots in 20 seconds or less. So that is just a speed and execution and effort and determination thing. I think it is Colorado overwhelming Winnipeg structure or no. The area I think Winnipeg needs to be much better at, and probably can be better at, that I actually believe I see some potential there, is just moving the puck up ice. They've been outmatched. Their outlets have been taken away. They've been firing giveaways. Their zone exit rate is actually quite bad compared to the regular season, and that's an area where I can see them improving a little bit.
Okay, so you mentioned the zone exits, and we know Colin Miller's coming into the lineup, and I guess this will be kind of a two-part question, because we talked about this before you came on about Cole Perfetti. Obviously, a lot of people are excited to see Cole come back into the lineup. He's going to play on the second line, not the fourth line. I guess, how do you see the lineup changes, I should say, helping to counter what you just said, to help with the zone exits and to help make the Jets more dynamic offensively? Because obviously, Cole Perfetti, I mean, he's not Nathan MacKinnon. He's not the fastest guy, but I think you would agree, one of the reasons why Rick Bowness brought him into the lineup was to get that second line going.
Yeah, I mean, look at the line shuffle heading into the third period in Game 4 when Winnipeg needed a spark and Axel Jonsson-Fjällby's on that second line. That's a problem, right? That's not somebody well-suited to that role. Cole Perfetti isn't going to slow Colorado's overwhelming forecheck down. He doesn't have that power by himself. But what he can do is step into the game, play his game, which makes smart decisions with the puck. He does know what his positioning in the defensive zone. He does make smart plays at both blue lines. He's usually getting the puck out and making sure that it stays in or gets into the offensive zone. So these little things may help a little bit, but I think that line, more than anything with Monahan, Connor, and Perfetti, they're going to be getting as much offensive zone shifts as Rick Bowness can find for them. And it's going to be about production. It has to be about putting something on the board because Winnipeg struggled there.
So Marat, this is all about vibe checks. That's how we welcomed you to the show with a tweet saying, we're here for vibe checks. Because I know, obviously being in the Matt Frost Media Center with you earlier today, you were asking Rick Bowness about the vibe check. So what is your sense overall from this team? I mean, again, you're around them as much as anyone. So what's the sense you're getting from this team in terms of just their general outlook? And obviously we can't predict what's going to happen in the game, but just from what you're taking away from your interactions with the players.
If I can be honest, and I just got back from Denver, right? So I was on the road. The dressing room on the road for these playoff series is a little bit more calm. There's less of us there, right? So you get to have these chats. And one of the takeaways that left me impressed, I know they're getting pushed around in the series, but when I talked to their leadership group, and I talked to all three members, I talked to Josh Morrissey, Mark Scheifele, and Adam Lowry over the course of the last few days, there is a sense of calm, focus, and determination, and not of letting the moment get the best of them, at least off the ice, that I have admired and appreciated from them. I was telling Adam Lowry the other day, or the part of the preamble to the question was, this is your first time wearing the C in a pressure cooker like this, right? A year ago, no captain on the Winnipeg Jets. Now he's got the C, and I asked him about how he's approaching it, because my honest read is that he is the exact same guy. Adam Lowry's disposition has been the exact same consistent, calm, willing to dissect things sort of person. And I actually think that bodes well. If you're looking for a vibe check, I think that looking to your leaders and they're still on task and they're still directing you to the right targets, they're not losing their cool, I think Adam Lowry is that, and I appreciate that. I was even talking to Mark Scheifele, too, and I know that some of his post-game words were it was quite the subject of conversation. I wrote about them. It was really remarkable that he was talking about a need for adjustments when the coach was not necessarily saying the same thing. They need a lot of things, not just adjustments. But in the build-up to that game, I had a chance to talk to him as well, and he was willing to be, I almost want to say vulnerable, but break down the last year of his life, the stress that he was under a year ago when he didn't know where his future would be, the emotions of signing, all of those sorts of things. There was an ability to go there and have that conversation that maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I don't think Scheifele could have had. He's so wired, he's so tense a lot of the time. Does that mean anything for on the ice? I don't know. But if you're looking to your leaders and they're saying the right things and they have a disposition that's not adding to the stress, I think there is something to at least appreciate about it.
If I can just jump in here, because I think Drew's next, right? Drew's going to ask the next question. But no, Marat makes a lot of good points. And you're always very articulate. And I think if the Jets are going to win tonight, and especially if they're going to come back in the series, who has it been all year long? Mark Scheifele and Adam Lowry, your two most consistent centers, right? And that's not a slight on Sean Monahan or anything like that, but he's just new to the team. And just look back to game one, right? Scheifele and Lowry's 2 goals. Obviously, Scheifele scored the beauty one-hander in game 2, but that's who you're looking for. Like Marat said, you're looking to your leaders of this team, and I'm expecting big things out of especially those 2 players. Obviously, we expect Perfetti to play well on the second line, but Scheifele and Lowry, these are the guys that have got you this far. Obviously, Hellebuck has played a small little role. Obviously, I'm being a little bit tongue-in-cheek here, and Josh Morrissey has been your best defenseman all year long. But, Scheifele and Lowry, they always step up in these types of situations, right?
Well, I would give Mark Scheifele credit for having 5 points in the 4 games that they've played so far. An enormous story of this series is that Colorado's depth has outscored Winnipeg's depth and 99% of its stars too, right? So Mark Scheifele is the only one who is up there in terms of Winnipeg Jets scoring, and so credit to him for finding ways to deliver that offense. I think he's been there. Adam Lowry, his playoff point production has been absolutely wild. He led the Jets in goals a year ago, if I recall correctly, and if you look at his points per game in the playoffs, he does come to play and he does show up. That's something you can appreciate about that. This series as well, I gotta say, whenever things have been tough for the Jets, and they've been tough through most of it, if you want a player who's playing desperately, effectively, creating offense, and making desperate defensive stops, you got to give credit to Josh Morrissey as well.
Yep.
The problem is Colorado has 18 of these guys, and Winnipeg right now has a few.
Marat Atesh, our guest on the Illegal Curve pregame show. We're coming to you live at the second floor food court at Cityplace, 333 St. Mary Avenue. Of course, we are attached to the downtown arena, so if you're looking for a place to grab a bite to eat before heading into the arena or heading to the whiteout parties, come join us here in the second floor Cityplace Food Court. Marat, you mentioned the comments. Mark Scheifele saying we need adjustments. Rick Bowness saying it's not adjustments, it's about execution and staying out of the box and all the things along those lines. I asked Ezzy and Dave their thoughts before you joined us about, what seems to be a bit of a disconnect. Is disconnect the right word from your estimation, or do you think that these are just maybe they're both saying similar things, just maybe being misconstrued how they're going about saying them?
I think disconnect is a fair word, but when I use it, I'm worried that people will assume that they're on two opposite camps, they're warring, it's an absolute I don't necessarily see it that way. I see it that they did take two very different approaches to identifying what went wrong in that game. And so when you have Mark Scheifele say, they made adjustments, we didn't, and then later he's asked a different question, he repeats it, and then I was like, hey, you've repeated this a couple of times. It seems like a big deal. And then he sounds off on that too. Clearly, there is a belief that Winnipeg needs to be better prepared for what Colorado's doing to them in this series. That has to be acknowledged. And Nino Niederreiter echoed it as well. I think that they feel that they haven't properly identified what they need to do or executed what they need to do to respond to Colorado's heavy forecheck. Rick Bowness isn't wrong either. If you take 4 penalties in the second period, taking yourself out of the flow of play, if you don't make the exit passes, if you don't spend enough time with the puck, I mean, we've talked about the scoring chance numbers. The Jets have given up more scoring chances per minute to the Avalanche than San Jose did to teams during the year, and that's the worst team in the National Hockey League. So it can't just be about X's and O's when they're getting beaten to pucks in front of the net or when they're not recovering, when they're not making the exit passes. It's got to be a bit of both, I would say.
When you're taking the penalties that the Jets have taken, eventually, like you just said, 4 in one period, you know that Colorado's too good. Now, in the first couple of penalties, that last penalty kills, I should say, that last game, it looked like the Jets kind of had it figured out. They played it real well, didn't give up too much, but then inevitably, Colorado's power just overwhelmed them. Is there anything you saw, though, aside from obviously limiting that number, which is obviously the ideal, that you could take solace in and say, hey, there's something there that if they continue that, at least, again, like I said, if you can minimize it, that's the goal, but at least something that you can say, okay, they did a couple good things, but like I said, still give up 2 power play goals in the last game.
I think that the will is there. That's what I would lean on. I think that you see defensemen sliding to block shots. Dylan Sandberg has been a beast in that particular regard. Neil Pionk, who has struggled with the puck on his stick, has been a beast in terms of blocking shots as well. The forwards, at times during their successful penalty kill, did pressure those 50-50 pucks. If a puck bounces to the wall and now they've got the green light to go attack that, great. They won some of that. They were able to get the clears, and I think they pushed up ice pretty well as well. So I like that. The truth is, my belief, like even in this, a week ago when we talked before Game 1, my series preview, Colorado's power play versus Winnipeg's PK, disadvantage Winnipeg. Even when we were optimistic, that was the idea that was an area, right? And for me, it's Winnipeg's relative passivity. I think that they're very compact. They do not want to give up the seam pass, so they give up room at the top of the zone. Colorado's shooting and recovering pucks so effectively that because when a puck goes to the wall, then Colorado recovers it, now Winnipeg's pulled out of position. Those seam passes are happening anyways. Colorado has scored by getting onto its rebounds first, and you saw Nichushkin on the deflection. You saw, I think it was Nichushkin, could have been Lehkonen out-muscled Pionk, I think, for a rebound. You're seeing them get deflections, rebounds, and goals off of seam passes. So they're not really limiting any of the categories that they need to.
Yeah, we got to talk about Connor Hellebuck, because nobody's been talking about Connor Hellebuck, right? So, I mean, we know that, he hasn't had a great series. Let's be honest here. And he doesn't get pulled a lot, and he was pulled. And I think everyone understood why Rick Bowness pulled Connor Hellebuck last game. We also know that usually Hellebuck responds with an amazing game after a poor game. What are you expecting from him? Because I think a lot of criticism has been unfairly thrown his way in this series.
I think he made one highlight reel horrible goal against play, and that was the giveaway in Game 2. And you combine that with the sheer volume of goals, and people have turned on him without actually maybe digging into the performance itself.
Well, to your point, and sorry for interrupting, because you get it definitely in your social media, and I'm sure in your articles on The Athletic, and we get it on the post-game show and the pre-game show. But the number of people who are laying the blame for all the Jets' problems at the feet of Connor Hellebuyck, to me, is absolutely astounding. Like, if the Jets, if they didn't have Connor Hellebuyck in net, that Game 4, you're talking about 7, 8, 9 goals against just in the first 5 minutes of that game.
100%. I think that's important to acknowledge what he has taken away from the Avalanche, as well as what's given up. If we talked about this before the series and somebody said Winnipeg would spend 2 less minutes in the offensive zone and 2 more minutes in the defensive zone per game than it did during the regular season, would you assume it was a successful thing? No, absolutely not. So if they're getting a third or a quarter of the scoring chances as Colorado is, of course that there are going to be goals against. So I know that there's a highlight, like the giveaway. Okay, great. I know that you can point to moments. If you go between and just look at the flurries, the 4-shot-at-a-time flurries, if you look in the build-up to Cale Makar's coast-to-coast goal, there is a period of, 30 seconds where a defenseman spins off Niederreiter at the point, goes cross-seam to Nathan McKinnon for a one-timer. Connor Hellebuyck is there. Colorado recovers. Next shift out, there's a low-slot deflection. Connor Hellebuyck is there. He's made so many 5 and 10 bell saves that it's given Winnipeg a chance to, finish with a respectable scoreline. I don't have time for the fact that he's cost them in this series.
Marat Atesh is our guest. You can read Marat's work at theathletic.com. He is prolific when it comes to his game stories and his previews and everything to do with the Winnipeg Jets. Marat, we've heard a lot about all the players, who need to sort of produce more for the Winnipeg Jets. The one name that I haven't heard as much, that I'm a little surprised about, given how prolific he was when healthy during the regular season, was Gabe Vilardi. To me, there's been too many games or too many sequences during the game where he just hasn't been as noticeable as you would expect. How would you assess or evaluate his performance through the first 4 games of the series?
Yeah, for me, it's a tale of 2 series for him. He started well. The first couple of games of the series, nobody had more passes that led to scoring chances on either team than Gabriel Vilardi did. And he set up Mark Scheifele for that Game 1 goal, I believe it was, crossed the crease just to kick things off. There were a lot of things that he was doing well. By the end of Game 4, though, I thought he was having his most ineffective game of the series. It looked like on that line through the first 2 periods, Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele were running a 2-man game, and Gabriel Vilardi was kind of out of picture. I think there was a lot of disjointed moments there, and certainly he hasn't been able to take over on the power play like we're used to seeing him do. So for me, heading into this game, there's a lot of talk about Ehlers, Scheifele, and Vilardi and the success that they've had during the regular season. They were so good. They outscored other teams by waves. They outchanced other teams in waves. When that line was Winnipeg's top line, Winnipeg pushed through the standings all the way to first in the NHL. That was a good era for the Winnipeg Jets.
I'm also distracted by Pikachu right now.
Yes, hi, Pikachu. Coming out of that particular game, it was tough to make the case that, okay, well, Gabriel Vilardi deserves a first-line shot based on performance. I think what Rick Bowness has done here is tried to put him and Nikolai Ehlers, who was also not produced like you would hope from him, back in the context where they were at their best earlier in the year.
Marat, I have to ask you about Tyler Toffoli, because talk about a bit of a fall from grace. I don't want to call him Kevin Hayes 2.0 just yet, but it seems to be going that way. I mean, we could see it a little bit during the regular season. The speed isn't necessarily there, which, again, this team is supposed to be playing, especially when you're playing against Colorado, that gets exposed a little bit, that lack of foot speed that he has. From your perspective, the comments by Rick Bowness, he could have just left it alone and said, well, yeah, because Kenny Wiebe asked him, do you like putting him with Iafallo because of the chemistry from the Kings? And Rick Bowness didn't say that. He said, well, no, he's having a bit of a tough series. So what was your takeaway from that, and what are you seeing from him that, again, the guy they acquired for that 2nd and 3rd round pick isn't necessarily having the impact they thought they would have had?
Yeah, he has been ineffective as a general rule. I know he's got the goal, and credit to him for that, and he also had a breakaway in that same game. Mm-hmm. But, the Kevin Hayes comparison suddenly rings a bell because I remember Kevin Hayes had the breakaway against St. Louis and then stopped his own puck from going into the net. And I think that soured a lot of people on him. With Tyler Toffoli, I think we did expect more. That's fair to say. I think that he did get the worst possible matchup in the Colorado Avalanche, who are as fast as they are, because that second line with him and Sean Monahan has not looked effective. And I think they're such smart players. Speed has got to be why they're being left out of any success. Tyler Toffoli has not been good enough in this series. He's not the only one, but I think he is full value for the demotion. Hopefully it means that something good happens elsewhere in the lineup and maybe there's a chance for him to get back up, but I think he's where his performance and results have maybe dictated he should be.
I wanted to ask you about a matchup that I'm curious to know. I realize that you can't always get the right matchup, but we know that the Jets have last change. We talked about the Monahan, Connor, Perfetti line and how the Jets need more from that second line. Which line does Rick Bowness want that line up against? I've got the line combinations here from Daily Faceoff. Obviously, you don't want that line up against the McKinnon line. We know that Rick Bowness wants the Lowry line when he can get that line against the McKinnon line, but do you think it's the Middlestat line that matches up better for Rick Bowness, or do you think it's the Ross Colton line? Because as you talked about earlier, both of these lines have outplayed the Jets' second and third lines.
That's a tough one because of exactly that. Because of the production you've gotten from Miles Wood, from Ross Colton, they've had an effective game. And even in Game 4, Yakov Trenin's line 4 was buzzing. Like they were a big part of Colorado taking that over. For me, Mark Scheifele's line is line 1, Adam Lowry's line is line 2 in terms of the matchup importance, or the other way around. Those two are the ones that you want against McKinnon and Middlestat. And you know that Sean Monahan, Kyle Connor, and Cole Perfetti will give up scoring chances. I think that you're betting on their offensive prowess. You want them against the Coltons and the Trentons of the world, assuming that, okay, if you do give up a little bit of zone time, at least the finishing talent in that group isn't quite what it is up top.
Marat Atesh, our guest. This is the Illegal Curve pregame show. We're live at Cityplace, the food court, prior to Game 5 between the Jets and Avs. Do or die, as the cliche goes. The Jets looking to extend the series to a 6th game on Thursday night back in Denver. Colorado, obviously, looking to wrap it up on the road tonight. You know, Marat, the defense, obviously, there's been a number of changes on the back end. Brendan Dillon, obviously, suffered the injury. Logan Stanley has been in and out of the lineup. We're going to see Colin Miller tonight on the back end. You know, is it evidence now, and this is what a lot of people maybe have thought all year long, that the Jets' defense, maybe with the exception of Josh Morrissey, is just a sort of a step behind those elite teams in that are still going to be alive in the playoffs? Not saying the Jets won't be one of those teams, not putting the cart before the horse, but to you, is that sort of a glaring off-season issue that needs to be addressed if we can look forward, that the defense as currently constructed just isn't at the same level as some of the other elite teams in this league?
I think the what to keep and what to throw away, if you've ever moved in an apartment or moved home or what have you, and you go through the agonizing, okay, what do I really need?
Yeah.
Is going to be one of the most compelling stories of Winnipeg's offseason whenever it starts, whether it starts soon or a long time from now. And that's because you have an enormous body of work that says they're the best defensive team in the National Hockey League. That comes from forward commitment to the defensive structure. That comes from defensive commitment to the defensive structure. They did so many good things that it's worth acknowledging that even as they're getting completely outmatched. The question, and it's a valid one, is what happens when they play against the Colorados, the Vegases, the Dallases of the world? Can they continue to have that kind of success? And
especially in a 7-game series. It's one thing you play a one-off, you play a good game individually, and then you go play Anaheim and Chicago and San Jose. The teams where their defense, you can get away with it. Whereas in a 7-game series, you can't. Your issues get exploited more obviously.
Yeah, and we've seen moments where you would say that's on the D-man, right? Like we've seen somebody get boxed out for a puck in front of the net, and that turns into a goal. We've seen a series of giveaways where the outlets are taken away. To be clear, that's on the forwards as well. Mm-hmm. But we've seen the execution of, okay, somebody's not there. What do I do now? Those mistakes get made, and they are outmatched. I think that's going to be a long look. I'm not willing to throw out the entire defensive core at this stage because they've been handed to it so badly. Pardon me.
It's okay.
What was that phrase?
No, you're just dumbing yourself down so you fit in well with the three of us. That's all you're doing. That's perfect. We appreciate that. Don't keep your big syllabic words out of this show. We don't need that. We keep it at a solid 2 or 3 syllables top, and you'll be fine.
It's tough for Marat not to be loquacious.
There you go.
Ooh, loquacious. For me, there are things that you can count on. Josh Morrissey is one of them. Dylan Sandberg in his own zone is another one of them. Brendan Dillon, I mean, that's a pending unrestricted free agent who's injured right now, and that's a tough spot.
Right.
I think that his absence is certainly costing the team as well, and that's unfortunate. I'm sure he would play. Like Rick Bowness says he would play with 2 broken hands if we let him. I believe him. I 100% do. So, yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I do think that it's clear that the elite teams, the cup-winning teams, are going to have better defensive cores than Winnipeg. Does that mean that they were bad this season? I don't think so.
Marat, the one thing that Adam Lowry told us a couple days ago when we were at Hockey for All Center, and they didn't skate, they took the day off. Neil Pionk said it was important to kind of get that time away from the rink to kind of rest up and just decompress. But the one thing that Lowry talked about, because of course that same day with everyone, Drew talked about it, how Connor Hellebuck was being pilloried a little bit for his play, but he was nominated as one of the 3 candidates for the Vezina. So, Adam Lowry was asked about it, and he just talked about the positivity that they can bring. So again, I can't ask you to quantify that, but do you think that a little bit of positive news, something that can remind this team, we're pretty damn good, can be some sort of catalyst for them to be like, hey, let's not forget how we got here. We're a 52-win team, and we got to show Colorado that's what we are.
I think you do anything you can to disrupt the rhythm, right? The story is they're outmatched, and what have I said tonight, right? But for them, they need to tell themselves stories that help them get into the space that they need to be. And I believe in the power of that. I really do. I think that taking a breath away from the ice, that was key. I think that even Neil Pionk in those conversations I see quoted as saying, we got to look in the mirror. And the idea that he was willing to, and the players were directing their areas for improvement on themselves. Listen, these aren't the things that if you do them, you automatically win, right? Positivity isn't going to make up for the fact that Nathan McKinnon is who he is. But I can say with confidence that in the 1 out of 10, 1 out of 5, 1 out of 100 teams that come back for this series, they need to have those things on their side, so it's important that they do.
I think, and this is more of a statement as opposed to a question. I apologize, but we've Remus isn't here, but we love Remus. He used to be part of this. That was hilarious. Listen to Winnipeg Sports Talk too daily, Monday to Friday at 1 o'clock. That was hilarious. We got Pikachu, we got Remus fans. Everything is happening right now. But
Remus fans is what concerns me way more than Pikachu. I got to tell you.
Remus fans are singular.
Yeah, fans.
Yeah,
what does Remus upgrade to, like a Pokemon? What is the advanced version of my Karima?
That's very funny. We need to find the proper Pikachu character for Remus, but we're going to let you go. But I just wanted to say that one thing which kind of piggybacks off of what you said there. I think, what I said was flip the script. And obviously, in theory, everything we're saying makes sense, but then we're going to have to wait and see what happens once the puck drops. But to me, when the Jets were the most successful, obviously they were preventing a lot of grade A chances, but it's all about pressure, right? And it seems like more of the pressure, more of the speed, more of that forechecking strength that you saw so often from the Jets during the regular season, we've seen way too much of that from the Colorado Avalanche. So that's what I'm going to be looking for in this game, especially early on. And hopefully that leads to not just one goal, but it leads to consecutive goals, because I think you would agree that when the Jets are at their best, that's what they're doing. They're not giving the opposition any time to breathe. Unfortunately, through the first 4 games, we've seen way too much of that from the Avalanche and not enough of that from the Jets, right?
And you're almost seeing when the Jets do have the puck and they do have time for the first time in a few shifts, they don't know what to do with it.
Right.
They've been under such pressure wave after wave. And Scheifele said something to this effect after the game as well. So Winnipeg does, harder to do than to say. They do need to be the team that's playing on their toes. They do need to be the team that's taking away time and space. Every moment of good puck management in Winnipeg's zone, moving that puck up ice, takes away a number of scoring chances, takes away a number of times Connor Hellebuck has to set, takes away shot attempts, and creates an opportunity to go the other way and do things at the other end of the ice. Winnipeg, when they have gotten to the offensive zone, has been able to create from there. It's just that they're not getting there nearly as often as they need to do. And I guess my last thought is this, and I don't know if you guys ever played hockey at a level above what you were capable of doing, but I have a distinct...
For God's sakes, do you think that happened?
I mean, for me, it was a lot of times, right? But I just remember being called up to like the age group ahead of me, and the brain's adaptation to how fast everything is, and ideas that you have, and the way that having no time and space completely changes the way that you're able to play. I think that that's happened to the Winnipeg Jets this series, and I think that the moment they string together enough good moments of puck management that they're feeling their own rhythm again, if that's able to happen, we're going to see them play like Winnipeg Jets again.
Well, Marat, for the record, we're not going to let you go because I'm going to piggyback off of that because what you're talking about right now, it's one thing I've noticed a lot of times in the game where the Jets get the puck and then they just dump it back into the Av zone. But I'm like, well, what are you doing? You're allowing them to reset. You're giving up the puck. But I thought the comments from Cole Perfetti today were very interesting, and I know you were there. Just the idea of what he was saying in terms of, he was asked, I don't remember by whom, what have you observed? Because, of course, he's like us now. He's an observer for the first 4 games, and he said, we're not hanging on to the puck enough. And I thought that was an interesting observation by him because it's one I think I've made as well. But I just think that, that's, I think, a testament to this team can hang on to the puck. One, you're not giving Colorado the opportunity. And I just thought it was an interesting comment from Cole, an observation that he had made.
Yeah, and Cole Perfetti is one of the brightest lights to talk hockey with in terms of his analysis. If he's saying it, I have more time than if I'm saying, obviously, yeah. Right? Like, he is such a good student of the game. And for me, my interpretation is, I wonder what you guys would think, but I see that more in the offensive zone. I think that there are moments where Winnipeg's caught between plans, whether that's going to be a shoot and recover, whether that's going to be curl up and look for a seam or look for a second wave of offense or what have you. And I don't think they're getting into the offensive zone often enough to sort of get at ease with that. It seems like every time they're there has to be the shift that changes the game. And I think a little bit of calm, a little bit of that patience and poise that, Perfetti's known for playing with. Scheifele's had a lot of success in this series that way. That's, I think, the recipe that I think could turn into more offense for the club.
Is your hotel room in Denver for Game 6 refundable or non-refundable?
It's on call.
I gotcha. Marat Atesh covers the Winnipeg Jets for The Athletic. He's a great friend of our program. Marat, enjoy Game 5. We'll read all about it in theathletic.com as well. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
And just 1 second, back to what Marat said about, sorry, Drew, I didn't mean to steal your thunder there, but the highest level of hockey I played was A1 for Varsity View, but there's no doubt in my mind this is going to be super corny. You're definitely a AAA guest.
Oh, wow. Give him the lay as a reward for joining us.
I have to go for some reason.
There you go. Marat, thank you.
Is somebody cutting onions?
The Illegal Curve Hockey Show, the pregame show rolls on. We're live at Cityplace.
You guys ever wish for a game changer in life?
Like finding out your favorite snack has 0 calories?
Or discovering the mute button on Ezzy?
Picture this, a secret weapon for parking, where you can book a spot a whole month in advance.
Tell me more, Drew.
Pre-book your parking at really low rates, or maybe even for free if you use the code IllegalCurve.
Free? What is this, sorcery?
The Grid Park app. It's a real secret weapon that has affordable game day parking, and to sweeten the deal even more,
I love sweets.
Our listeners can use the code IllegalCurve to park for free.
Holy Zamboni!
Tell me about it. Just download Grid Park, GRYD Park, and use the code IllegalCurve, all one word, to park for free.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Your coworkers love you because you always make them laugh. You're the life of the party with stories that have them rolling on the floor. Or maybe you're just the quiet one in the corner with the one-liners that just slay. Do you have what it takes to become Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job? Try your luck. Hit the stage at Rumors Comedy Club, and you could be walking away with $1,000 cash. Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job, presented by Rumors. For all the details, head to rumorscomedyclub.com.
The game can change just like that. Accidents happen when you aren't protected. So now what? Getting to your injury quickly can make all the difference. Help prevent them from being game changers with Linden Market Dental Center. Bonding, crowns, bridges, and dental implants. State-of-the-art treatments are available to help you get back in the game. To learn more, visit lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
It's all over, folks, and the run has come to an end.
You've been so far away.
A Canadian team hasn't won the Cup in over 30 years.
And the Cup will stay south of the border.
Maybe it's time we try something different. This playoff season, let's cheer with the fans we've always cheered against. Team up for the Cup at Boston Pizza.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the illegal curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. Welcome back to the Illegal Curve pregame show live here at Cityplace. The anticipation growing as we are less than an hour away from the scheduled puck drop, which is probably more like an hour and 15 minutes if history has been any indicator. Puck drop somewhere between 8:30 and 8:50 p.m. That just means you have more time to visit all the great vendors here at Cityplace. Restaurants open here on the second level, also on the main floor as well. So if you're getting ready to get to the game or you're going to the whiteout party, wherever you may be going, be sure that if you can hear my voice or you're watching us online, be sure to stop here at Cityplace and get yourself a bite to eat, something ahead of the Game 5 between the Jets and the Avs. I'm going to keep rambling incoherently because I can see you have something you want to say.
Well, no, I was just thinking, like, if I could live anywhere else aside from my house, it would be, we're positioned for those people who are watching online, which is most people. I mean, there's some people, obviously, lots of people watching live, but I mean, we're right in the middle of McDonald's and Tim Hortons, and then you've got Boston Pizza downstairs. Like, so I mean, I pretty much am in my happy place.
Yes, that is definitely.
That's why I have a big smile on my face.
Okay, I mean,
in addition to the fact that we're breaking down and previewing Game 5, and we're joined by all these great Jets fans. Let's hear it, guys.
You make some. There you go. The crowd is making some noise here in the second floor of Cityplace as we are rolling along with the pregame show prior to the Jets and the Avs. We remind everybody after the game, win or lose, it might be the last one, it might not be the last one. It is the Illegal Curve post-game show following the game, available on our YouTube channel, all of our social media platforms. Behind me here at Cityplace, there's this great big poster, and at the bottom over here there's a QR code. Just scan that QR code and that'll take you right to the YouTube channel. You can subscribe there and don't miss an episode of Illegal Curve.
And kudos to Dave M, by the way. We got to give Dave M a shout out. We just saw Andrew Huleko, who obviously is also known as the Centratech CEO.
Yes.
He was wearing a Moose jersey. I'm not sure, Dave, who he had on the back. But Dave M's been doing an awesome job the last couple days, not only getting interviews with the Jets, but I was looking at watching an interview with Danny Zhilkin, Colby Barlow, Chaz Lucius. I'm not sure if you talk. I'm sure you're going to be talking to other guys in the coming days, Dave. But kudos to you, because obviously a very disappointing way to end the season for the Moose. But I mean, we're getting lots of views on our YouTube channel because obviously everybody wanted to hear from Cole Perfetti, guys. And I'm not stealing your thunder here, Drew, but I mean, what a story that would be if Cole Perfetti, pops in a goal, has a good game, the Jets win, because, he has been, he's had a rough year. Let's be honest here. He's gone from the second line center to second line wing to the fourth line to a healthy scratch. Now he has a great opportunity here. And make no mistake about it, guys, Cole Perfetti is going to be a big part of that new core for the Jets, along with Colby Barlow, Rutger McGroarty, Ville Heinola, Elias Salamonson. Like, this is a huge game for Cole Perfetti. And I'm not putting too much pressure on him. I'm just saying I'm expecting big things out of him.
It's funny that you say he's had a tough year. He's had a tough 19-goal season, which is sort of, but you're not wrong. It's sort of counterintuitive that, you know, he was such a fixture in the lineup, then he sort of fell out of favor a little bit, and now he has an opportunity tonight to make an impact. Now, it's I think it's unfair to say that he's going to be the tipping point between success and defeat tonight, because that's not reasonable and that's really not realistic either. But Cole Perfetti certainly today, Dave, you had the opportunity to talk with him and chat with him after the morning skate, is relishing this opportunity to get into the game tonight. This would be his first NHL playoff action, and you know that he wants to prove that Rick Bowness has erred in keeping him out of the lineup thus far, especially after he had that sort of late season surge where it seemed like, you know, he was finding his way again, and now, you know, he hasn't been used up until the first four games of the series.
Well, it's funny, Drew, because I know a lot of folks were saying that Cole Perfetti doesn't smile, but he had a smile today throughout the course of his media availability. So if you didn't get a chance to watch it, as you said, then make sure you go to our YouTube channel and check it out to see Cole Perfetti's chat here in the pregame media availability. But you're right, Drew. Look, he also understands that you're not going to, he's a 19-goal scorer. It's his first playoff game. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him. He's put a lot of pressure on himself, but I think he's feeling good. He talked about how, the season ended for him, how he had those, that good game against the Canucks. So I think Cole Perfetti is ready to kind of, you're right, Drew, and I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. That's not necessarily a bad thing. And Rick Bowness has kept him in the loop, and he's been talking to him, so that's not a bad thing as well. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you've got a guy who is ready to show this team, the world, everybody who's watching, the hockey world, I mean, of course, that he's a player. And look, let's be realistic. I know people think that the Jets are stifling him and there's going to be bad feelings. The Jets have, and this is an Ezzy comment, but I'm going to steal his thunder. The Jets are, as Ezzy just touched on, have Cole Perfetti in their long-term plans. This guy's going to be a big piece of their puzzle moving forward, but he hasn't been in the playoffs. And again, that's ultimately the coach's decision. But you know that he is, again, you can only put so much pressure on yourself, and you don't want to go outside your structure. And that's the one thing you don't want him doing, of course, is trying to do too much because he's trying to help the team. But I think he's such a, Marat talked about it, and he's right. He's such a smart player, Ezzy, that, from that perspective, I just expect Cole Perfetti to be, ready to go. And the key is, and I know that you and I are on the same page, and I'm sure Drew is as well, but it's something we've talked about on this show. Well, not necessarily a pregame show, but one of the thousands of Illegal Curve broadcasts that we bring you folks. But the thing with Cole Perfetti is you put him in a position for success.
Yes.
You put him in a position where he can play with Kyle Connor and Sean Monahan. You didn't put him on the fourth line, give him 6 minutes and say, well, I'm surprised Cole Perfetti didn't have, a goal or two in today's game. You put him on the second line where he's going to be able to produce. And if he doesn't produce, it doesn't mean it's the end of the world, but it's at least on a path for success in today's game.
Yeah, I think everything you said is exactly on point. You want to put all players in the position for success. By the way, I think Tyler Toffoli playing in that fourth line role, if you want to consider that a straight swap of Perfetti for Toffoli, I think that's putting Toffoli potentially in a situation where he can succeed. There's a group of guys wearing the whiteout paint suits and the helmets coming through here, Cityplace. So you can tell the buzz is growing. There is still that anticipation. I know that a lot of people are disappointed and maybe a little forlorn with how the series has gone so far, but stranger things have happened than a team coming back from 3-1 down. And yes, you would say that I'm looking through very rose-colored glasses if you say, based on the first 4 games that the Jets are going to be the next team to pull off that epic comeback. But it does start with one game, and I do think that Murat's right that this team has more belief than last year's team does. And
it's a better team, right? It's as simple as that. It's a deeper group of forwards. Connor Hellebuck is obviously the same goaltender, but he's playing at a higher level than he was last year. We know that he's going to win the Vezina, guys. All due respect to the other finalist, he's going to win the Vezina. But I think, when you mentioned, Drew, that you have to take it one game at a time. You have to leave it all on the ice, guys. That's what it has to come down to for the Jets. Yeah. Marat talked about it. He wrote about it in his piece for The Athletic today. This Jets team does not want to go out meekly like they did last year against the Vegas Golden Knights.
That's right.
We haven't seen the best version of the Jets yet. And I agree with Dave. And Dave, I thought, put it very nicely after Game 3 when we were at Boston Pizza. The Jets put together 2 good periods, especially that second period in Denver. And then obviously the undisciplined behavior came, and the Jets took all the penalties, and the Avalanche scored the power play goals. And then we kind of saw more of that in Game 4. So the Jets have to be desperate.
Yeah.
They have to be more aggressive. We have to see them playing more in the Avalanche zone. And I think they are going to get a boost from Cole Perfetti. And I think Colin Miller is going to help them move the puck better out of their zone. And obviously, we're not expecting Colin Miller to be Cale Makar. Nobody's expecting that. We're just expecting him to play the same way he's played throughout his career. And I do think that is going to help.
Right.
So, and the home crowd's going to give the Jets a boost. So, I mean, at the end of the day, this series is still a series. Do I think the Jets are going to win 3 games in a row? I'm not as confident in that. But I think they're going to win tonight.
Okay, as he's on record saying that this series is going to go back to Denver for Game 6 on Thursday night. We'll touch more on that over the next 15 or so minutes.
And just for the record, we've got the super chat. I've had my lay on the entire time.
That's right.
Producer Tim will back me up. I didn't take my lay. I got laid, and I've continued to get laid.
Well, it happens so rarely in your life that you might as well take advantage of it when it does happen. You walked right into that one.
That was a good one. You know what? I don't have any comeback for that, Drew.
You know what? I think that
because it's true.
I think for the record, I took my layoff because it smelled like weed. So I was like, and I told Spency that, and he said possibly.
I like it.
We got a Jets and 7 chat going on over here.
We got Shifley Jersey guy with the great multicolored glasses saying Jets and 7 for those people who didn't hear it. So I like it. Look I mean, teams have done this. The Jets aren't down 3-0 right now.
Right.
They're down 3-1. They scored 7 goals. They've defeated the Avalanche 3 times this year, Dave, and outscored them by a combined 17-4. Have the Avalanche badly outplayed the Jets through the first 4 games of the series, or certainly at least 3 games of the series? Yes, but they have it, I think, in them. And again, I'm not saying that the Jets are going to win in 7. Obviously, Jets fans are being optimistic here. You got to start with 1 game. Give the Jets fans you don't want to leave the Jets fans with a sour taste in their mouth and lose in Game 5 here. This is a big game, and I think a turning point for the core of this team.
Yeah, it's certainly a big challenge, and you want to see how they step up in the face of the adversity, because this is really the playoff adversity is different than regular season adversity. Any adversity this Jets team, Dave, felt during the regular season really only came in the latter half of the year when they were almost already clinched a playoff spot because of how good they were from October through the end of December.
But you did have some adversity, right? Like you had the Kyle Connor injury earlier in the season,
Gabe
Dave.
Vilardi.
You had Gabe Vilardi. Rick Bowness is having to leave the team. What was the record with Scott Arniel as the head coach? Wasn't it 10-2-2, 9-2-2, something like that? Yeah. And I'm not trying to just be contrarian, Drew. You're right. The biggest adversity this team faced was that 6-game losing streak. And what did they do? They won 8 games in a row.
Right.
So the Jets aren't done yet. Don't get me wrong. I still think the Avalanche are going to win this series, but I'm saying that I don't think they're going to go out like they did last year. I just don't see it.
It starts with 1 game at a time. It starts with 1 shift at a time, and that's sort of been the theme on the pregame
Avalanche
show.
Avalanche win 5-1 in Game 5.
That's been the theme of the pregame show so far. Is that it's just got to start with small, simple plays. And you mentioned Colin Miller into the lineup instead of Logan Stanley. I mean, and not to say that Logan Stanley is directly responsible for the Jets' performance or anything along those lines, because again, that would be a bridge too far. But he looked overmatched in the series. You asked Marat about the Jets just sort of dumping the puck out of their zone and then just having it come right back. I mean, that's just all he was really in position to do. He just looked rattled. So many of the Jets players looked rattled early on in the series. So now, you have nothing to lose. You're down 3-1. You might as well let it all hang out because, pardon the cliche, there is no tomorrow. So if you're a guy like Colin Miller or you're a guy like Neil Pionk, you just got to make the small, simple play as best you can and hope that that's enough. Expecting, you can't win the game or win the series with 1 play. That's not how it works. You just have to focus on the small details where the Jets have just been, when they've been at their peak this year, the small details they've been so, they've done such a good job executing on those small details. In this series, it certainly hasn't been that. So that, Dave, to me, is where I'm looking for their impact, particularly early in this game. Are there small details the way they should be?
former Jets assistant coach, Moose head coach, Pascal Vincent used to say, you can't score 2 goals on one shift.
Right.
So you have to just go out there and play. And as he said it earlier in the broadcast, right? As like, this is a 1 period focus. And then you win a 2nd period. And then you hope to win a 3rd period, because that's what the Jets need to do. You need a complete, and I hate saying it because it is beyond cliche, but that's what this team needs. You need to put forth a 60-minute effort, maybe 58 minutes, as not necessarily 60, but you have to put in a significant effort. Better for Game 7. There we go.
Ready for Game 7.
But look, I don't think that's impossible. I mean, it's definitely a tall task. It's not going to be easy, right, boys? But ultimately, this Jets club has something to prove. And Rick Bowness said it at the beginning of the season, at the beginning of the series, before they got going, and I have mentioned it on one of our broadcasts before, but I'll mention it again. You have to be able to know that you went out there and you gave everything you had to the series. You don't necessarily win with that, but you at least have to be able to look yourself in the mirror, look your teammates in the mirror, and know, hey, that's what we tried to do. And we haven't seen it yet because, again, as is listed it off, there's a lot of guys who haven't produced. There's a lot of guys who are, you're wondering where is it from them. So that's what these guys have to do, and they have to start with today's game. And if you win today, do the same thing on Thursday.
Well, we've got T. Kona Pauly's comment up there right now. Who's going to step up for the Jets, right? We talked about it earlier, and Dave just mentioned it. I mean, there's no short. Look, this is going to be a team win. The way the Avalanche are playing right now, this is. I think the Avalanche are almost playing better than they did 2 years ago when they won the cup. It's been. Well, I don't think anybody saw this coming, by the way, guys. And I think part of it had to do.
If Colorado plays like they've played so far in the first 4 games of the series, it doesn't really matter who their opponent is. To be honest, they're going to win the Stanley Cup.
I think it's a fair point, Drew, and that means that probably Connor Hellebuyck is going to have to steal the game if they play like they did.
Yes.
Especially in Game 4. I think you'd agree that was the most dominant performance by the Avalanche in the series, maybe with the exception of the 3rd period of Game 3, the game we were at Boston Pizza Taylor, right? So. I mean, look, I'm looking for big things out of the Scheifele, Ehlers, Velarde line. This is a line that the analytics say, guys, is better than when you have Kyle Connor on the left wing of that line, right? And I think Cole Perfetti, is going to add a different look. It's not going to be the fastest line, and I think Marat's right. I think if you're looking for matchups, I think Rick Bowness wants that line up against the Ross Colton line, the 3rd line, the Ross Colton with Miles Wood, Casey Middlestat, Arturi Lehkonen, that's been a very good line.
Arturi Lehkonen and Middlestat have been, along with Cale Makar. But I mean, as good as McKinnon and Nichushkin and Rantanen have been, you can make the argument, and I have time for it, that Middlestat and Lehkonen have been the most impactful players for the Avs in this series, non-Cale Makar division.
No, Casey Middlestat's line has outplayed the Monahan line. There's no doubt about that. So obviously, you want Monahan to produce some offense today. And look, I mean, you could go up and down the lineup, and this is a different look Jets team, but I think they're going to get a boost from having Colin Miller back there. I think he moves the puck better than Logan Stanley. All due respect to Logan Stanley. He made a beautiful outlet pass to Mason Appleton in Game 4. But the problem is he gets into penalty trouble, and I think he has problems with the pace of play. Not against most teams, but against the Colorado Avalanche. So I think Colin Miller will help in that regard. Dave already talked about that you just can't take the amount of penalties for a team that was bottom 10 in the league, maybe even bottom 5, Dave, I forget, in taking penalties.
Eighth.
Yeah, so, I mean, look, this has been an uncharacteristic, last 3 games for the Jets. Obviously, the first game was almost an anomaly. That was a crazy 7-6 game. You almost have to, throw out the analysis for a game like that, right?
Yeah.
But
because it's not good. You can't replicate that kind of
you can't expect to score 7 goals every game.
Georgiev's not going to have a save percentage less than 700. That's
and
Georgiev
he's elevated his game. So, I mean, the Jets have it in them. It's just a matter, and for all the talk of, we're all in and that marketing slogan, and, Mark Scheifele and Connor Hellebuyck saying a big reason why they signed the long-term contracts was because they want to win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Well, you're still in this series. You're back at home. The Jets are going to get a big boost from the whiteout crowd. So let's see what they can do. This is going to tell us a lot about it, like I said, about this core of players. Are there going to be some changes in the offseason? Of course. I don't think, even if the Jets get out in 5, I don't think there's going to be massive changes like some Jets fans want to see. Could a significant player be traded? Kyle Connor, Nick Ehlers, maybe. But that's cart before the horse here. Let's talk about Game 5. The Jets have an opportunity here to turn this series around and then put some pressure on the Avalanche. Let's be honest. If the Jets win this game tonight, there is going to be pressure on the Avalanche. Sure. And they already know that they've lost twice to the Jets this year. So all you can do is take it one shift at a time, get an early goal help, hopefully, Dave, and hopefully the snowball effects comes after that first goal.
And the only other thing I would add to what you've just said is first of all, first goal is critical. Really, look, this fan base wants to celebrate with the Jets. They want to be able to explode at Canada Life. We've heard, you were in the building for Game 2. I was in the building for Game 1. It is insane. It's very loud. There's a lot of excitement. But the other thing you have to factor in is Colorado, as good as they've been, have not been a good road team. They have 19 wins away from Ball Arena. So, that to me is something to consider. And again, they played, well here for the first 2 games. But I'm just saying that if you're looking for maybe again, take it with a big grain of salt because they're on a heater right now, Drew.
Yeah.
But if you want to factor in one other thing, they haven't been a terrific team away from Ball Arena. So that's just one thing. They've won a lot of games at Ball Arena. By the way, I think they only lost 9 in regulation, 2 of which came against the Jets. So that's another thing Jets fans can take some excitement from, I guess.
We'll find out. Game time is in about, let's say, a little more than 35 minutes, give or take a couple of minutes, because they say 8:30, but they never really start on time. And, of course, after the game, the Illegal Curve post-game show will recap everything that happens in Game 5 between the Jets and the Colorado Avalanche. We'll take our final commercial break, and then when we come back, some final thoughts ahead of tonight's Game 5 between the Jets and the Avs. Drew Mindell, Ezra Ginsburg, Dave Manouk, producer Tim doing a great job as always. It's the Illegal Curve pregame show. We're live at Cityplace, 2nd floor in the food court. Come by, say hello as you head on to the whiteout and or into the arena. We continue live on this Tuesday evening.
Keeping Winnipeg laughing for over 30 years. Rumors, Canada's longest-running comedy club, bringing you the biggest laughs from the best comedians on the planet. Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the greats, and all the up-and-comers too. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends, or book your office or birthday party. Even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com. Hey, Drew.
Ezzy, whoa, what a smile!
Yeah, I got my crowns done at Linden Market Dental Center, and they whiten my teeth.
I see.
They're so bright that every time I smile, they go...
We have hockey tonight. Do you have a mouth guard to protect those pearly whites?
I sure do.
Whoa, they even ting through the mouth guard.
Linden Market Dental Center covers all your dental needs from restorative to cosmetic dentistry and will fit you with a sports guard for that active lifestyle. 877 Waverly, see lindenmarketdental.com.
It's all over, folks, and the run has come to an end.
You'll be so far away.
A Canadian team hasn't won the Cup in over 30 years.
And the Cup will stay south of the border.
Maybe it's time we try something different. This playoff season, let's cheer with the fans we've always cheered against. Team up for the Cup at Boston Pizza.
Hey Winnipeg, Wendell Clark here. I'm coming out there May 28th for the Rady JCC dinner. Myself, Dougie Gilmore, Grant Fuhr. Some good storytelling about Winnipeg beating us up when we used to come there. See you there.
We did it again!
You're on fire, man.
There's power in a handshake. After a great game or great deal, it shows professionalism and respect. 2 qualities Zappia Group Realty take pride in. You don't build a business where 95% of your clients are referred by others without honesty, integrity, and total dedication to client satisfaction. To sell your home for more in less time, shake hands with Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Get started at ZappiaGroup.com.
The clock has struck 8 p.m. The crowd is getting excited. Tons of people walking by us here.
Shout out to Shifley Jersey guy.
Shifley Jersey guy says that it's going to be Jets in 7. Lots of people walking by saying Jets in 7. So the optimism is still in the air. I think people want to see a good performance by the Jets to start tonight's Game 5. Well, if they don't see a good performance, there won't be a Game 6. Never mind a Game 7. There you go. The crowds are chanting as they walk their way through here, the food court here in Cityplace prior to Game 5. The anticipation building as we are somewhere between 30 and 50 minutes away from puck drop. And then, of course, following the game, the Illegal Curve post-game show will cover everything that happens tonight back on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms. Just search Illegal Curve and you'll find us wherever we may be, whether it's tonight for the post-game show, Thursday for the post-game show if that happens, and again, of course, Saturday morning for the Illegal Curve hockey show. Keys to the game. One key from each of you, and then we'll wrap up tonight's pregame show. Ezzy, start with you. What's your key to the game? Who do you need to see step up and make that overwhelming impact that keeps the Jets alive for another game?
I'm not going to say stay out of the penalty box because I think Dave M is probably going to say that. I know Dave too well, but they do have to stay out of the penalty box. I mean, let's be honest here. At even strength, it was kind of a wash, especially Game 3. I'd actually give the 5-on-5 edge to the Winnipeg Jets. What I want to see is offense coming in waves from the Jets. I want to see the Jets dictating the pace of play as opposed to the Avalanche dictating the pace of play. I want to see more of what we saw on Nate Schmidt's goal, Dave. I want to see the defense jumping up into the play. I want to see kind of those high to low type of plays. I want to see more of that. I want to see a 4-line attack from the Jets. I want to see some sustained pressure and see a good shift by the Shifley line followed by a good shift by the Monahan line. That's what I want to see. Offensive coming in waves. I don't think we've seen enough of that in the first 4 games, Dave.
So, Dave, something other than stay out of the box, or are you still going to go with the Old Faithful?
Old Faithful, stay out of the penalty box. No, I mean, look, I saw it. It's funny because I looked at Ez gave me that little grin, and I knew he knew what I knew what he was thinking because I knew he knew what I was thinking.
The mind melt the two of you have together is very impressive.
This is what 87 times we've done this, and this is just. Of course, that doesn't even include all the pregame shows, postgame shows. A lot of times, a lot of connectivity we've spent this 23-24 season, more than ever, actually, boys. But, well, maybe not. No, yeah, more than 17-18 because we weren't doing postgame shows back then. But, look, the Jets have to, I mean, first of all, you have to be able to play to your style. And what has been your style all year? So if the Jets can actually follow that script, don't allow Colorado to dictate the pace of play. And look, Colorado's fast. They've been able to do that. But the number one thing for me for sure is going to be stay out of the penalty box. Number 2 is that Connor Velarde, Shifley, and Ehlers line. That to me is your key. They're your big dogs. They're the drivers of this group. And obviously, Adam Lowry is going to have play a significant role. But I really think that this team, we know Connor Hellebuck is going to have, I think, probably a world-class game for him, from him. But I really do think if you're going to boil it down, if you're going to point, not a gun to my head, Drew, because I hope you're not that violent. But if you're going to really want me to give you an answer, I have to tell you it's the top line for the Winnipeg Jets. They're going to have to score, 2-3 goals tonight for this Jets team to win this game.
3.5 hours from now, we will know the result. We'll know if there's going to be a Game 6 or if the Jets season is going to come to an end. Join us after the game, the Illegal Curve post-game show, live on all of our social media platforms. Big thank you to the good folks here at Cityplace for having us live in the food court again. We hope to be back for a Game 7 on Saturday. Time will tell if that'll be the case or not. But regardless, big thanks to them. Big thanks to all of our sponsors who make the Saturday show, the pregame show, the postgame show, and the website a possibility. If you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to the podcast. Producer Tim doing the great job behind the board for making this happen. For Ezra Ginsburg, for Dave Minuk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. We'll see you after the game for the Illegal Curve postgame show. Enjoy Game 5, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. This has been the Illegal Curve pregame show.